Caitriona Balfe and Heughan open up for the first time, and talk about their passionate kiss. Caitriona stepped from the backstage into the soft yellow light of a small hall in Edinburgh, where a play reading was taking place. Sam was already standing under the lights, holding her script, his eyes following her. The center of the stage that day was lit by a vintage lamp, creating a warm and intimate atmosphere. As they began to read their lines, Caitriona was Isabella, a talented noblewoman. Sam was Alistair, a worldly but passionate warrior. The atmosphere between them suddenly changed. Each line was like an invisible electric current, connecting their hearts. The audience was not present, but there was an emotional silence that made Caitriona feel Sam's breath touching her. After a few lines, they both paused, their eyes locked. Caitriona felt a slight flutter in her chest, not nervousness but desire, a chemical reaction so strong she couldn't name it. Looking at each other through the small light, the two of them stepped off the stage, the light still on, spreading a long streak of light down to the wooden floor. Sam said softly, "Cat, I feel like we just exchanged unspoken words." She looked at him, her heart seemed to skip a beat, and then replied softly, "Maybe, yes." At that moment, no more words were needed, just the look, full of foreboding and gentle as the morning mist, revealed more than any character could describe. The first kiss through the eyes. They sat next to each other in a small cafe near the stage, chatting about their roles. But both of them only said a few sentences before falling silent, looking at each other. Sam tilted his head, as if he wanted to say something lighter than the wind, but he lowered his body. Caitriona's eyes widened, her heart fluttered, then he lightly touched his lips to the corner of hers, the first kiss, filled with 1,000 emotions. No noise, no fuss, just a light touch, like a tap on the heart. Caitriona froze, and Sam breathed softly, as if he had just sobered up from a long hangover. The whole room seemed to freeze, only their breaths harmonizing in rhythm, a chemical reaction that erupted without alcohol, full of passion under the yellow light. The dream began, emotions overflowed. Walking along Edinburgh Bridge, the next day, Caitriona and Sam walked along the banks of the Forth. The city was hidden behind them in a light morning mist. As they crossed the bridge, they stopped, looking at the sparkling water. Sam pulled her hand, gently. "I don't think I would have seen such a beautiful scene, if it weren't for you." She leaned close to his shoulder, smiling softly, "And I don't think I knew how to love before I met you." The words echoed in the quiet space, as if to prove the newly formed bond, a chemical reaction that was dense, passionate, yet elegant. A bonfire night. At night, they and a group of actors set up a small bonfire outside the city. The fire flickered, its light painting warm lines across their faces. Sam gently stroked Caitriona's hair and whispered, "I want to be with you like this candlelight, not bright, but steady, warming." She turned to look at him, her heart swelled. As the firelight reflected in their eyes, Sam leaned in and kissed her slowly, a second kiss, full of hope and a wordless message, "I want this intoxication to last." The uncut shot, emotions beyond the lens. Back on the Outlander set, they were filming a complicated love scene, a slow, lingering kiss between Claire and Jamie. The scene had been carefully scripted, the camera angles, the lighting, even the hand placement had been determined. But when the director shouted, "Action!" something had gone wrong. Sam looked into Caitriona's eyes. She responded, slowly, hypnotically. Their lips touched, just as the script said, but it didn't feel like an act. His hand rested on the back of her neck, as if holding something precious. Her lips parted slightly to catch his breath. In that moment, the entire set seemed to disappear. The cameras kept rolling, but no one dared to cut. Because the truth was, everyone could feel it, This was no longer an act. This was them. When the director finally said, "Cut," they didn't immediately let go. Sam still held Caitriona's hand behind her neck, their eyes still locked. She exhaled. "Do you feel it?" Sam replied softly, whispering close to her lips. "I've felt it for a long time." The touches were no longer accidental. After that scene, there was a change that everyone could feel. The gaze, the touch when the cameras weren't rolling, the laughter that was no longer social. One evening, when the crew retired early, Sam invited her to the hotel roof, overlooking the city glowing with yellow lights. They sat next to each other, the wind blowing gently, coats touching coats. Sam pulled out a piece of ginger candy and gave it to Caitriona. The gesture was simple, but the look in his eyes as he gave it made her heart stop. "You know," he said, "I never thought real feelings would come between what was called pretending." Caitriona glanced at him. "Do you think this is real?" Sam replied, "Don't you think so?" A long silence. Then, without saying anything, they kissed, this time not on film, not according to the script. This time it was real. And different from the previous times, a little hasty, a little hungry, a little surprised, as if they had just crossed an invisible barrier that had existed for too long. Nighttime conversation. Admitting it's not acting. Back at the hotel, in the warm room with the night light, Sam put his hand on Caitriona's shoulder and looked straight into her eyes. "I need to say this, right now, before things get any more complicated. I can't pretend anymore. Sam, I love every part of you. You're smart, strong, funny, and your eyes, oh my God, your eyes pull me out of this world." She sat still, her hands shaking slightly. After a long pause, she replied, "I'm not sure when things cross the line. Maybe when I looked at you in a scene and forgot the script. Or maybe when you protected me from a sudden wind and put your coat on my shoulders as if no one was watching." They didn't need fancy words. Just the truth, and the truth at that moment was, they loved each other. Silent intimacy, where there were only two people. From that night on, Sam and Caitriona no longer needed to hide, no need to make it public, no need to declare it, but both understood, they were no longer just co-stars. They learned to look at each other with different eyes, softer, gentler, but also more passionate. The touches of hands backstage were always hot. The hugs after each scene were not just professional discipline, but a hug holding each other, not wanting to let go. On a shoot in the mountains of Skye, they woke up early, before everyone else, and sat side by side on the hillside. Neither of them spoke. The sun was rising, and the mist still covered the ground. Sam put his hand on Caitriona's back, slowly, firmly. "If I promise not to hurt you, will you let me love you as I love myself?" She didn't answer with words. She just nodded, and rested her head on his shoulder.